You are listening to Level Up Your Gaming Podcast, Episode 71, Eliciting Emotions in Games. Today we talk about drawing out your player emotions. We discuss the types of emotional kicks you should be looking to create and the ones to avoid. We also give examples on how to create this emotion in your games. If you'd like to participate in the discussion or leave us feedback, you can contact us at levelupyourgamingpodcast@gmail.com or find us on Facebook at facebook.com/levelupyourgaming. If you like the content and want to hear more of the show, subscribe and we'll ensure you don't miss an episode. New episodes come out almost every Wednesday. Also, please review, tell a friend about the podcast, or share with your gaming group. Now sit back and enjoy the episode. Welcome to the Level Up Your Gaming Podcast. My name is Aaron, and joining me in person once again, the tears will be flowing, Jared.
That sounds ominous. It does.
Well, listen, I mean, sometimes
these he'll leave you shaking in their boots. There we go.
I could have said that, but I think sadness is generally where you try to leave your players. Try to pull at the heartstrings, Jared.
I do. I definitely attempt to. I try to evoke many emotions. My favorite one is fear. I like to leave my players shaking in their boots.
Yeah, I mean that's been our MO for a long time, is eliciting fear. I mean, if you go back to our episode on how to do a horror game,
yeah,
that's without a doubt one of the. So if you haven't guessed what our topic is eliciting emotions in your players.
Get the fuck out.
But the thing is that in order to do that, it's really, really challenging. This is probably one of the most challenging things you're going to do as a GM. Because if you want to elicit the emotion of fear, you have to present something that is actually scary. You can't just be like, I think we mentioned this in a recent episode. You can't just tell someone, this is scary. And they go like,
your hand starts trembling. Because here's the thing. When attempting to elicit emotion, you're not attempting to elicit from a character. Okay? You're attempting to instill an emotion in a player. Right? Which is ultimately more difficult. Okay? It is far more complicated than your average person would think. It's a very, very complicated thing.
It's tough because the players, when they gather around a table, they're not all there to jump into the immersive nature of what the GM's about to present.
Very, very true. And also, if you look at like some of your, players, you're going to have different players like different horror movie. People react to different horror movies, right? Like my wife can watch a horror movie and be like, oh my God, the demon is coming down the hallway. I'm just like, that is a fatal funnel. Oh my God, I would put down so much lead. Like, holy shit, he'd fucking regret that decision. And then, she's like, but it's a demon. It does. I'm like, it's still physics. It's still a goddamn piece of lead traveling at an incredible speed, hitting a target. So I watch tons of horror movies. My wife and I love horror movies. But we have different reactions to it. My wife, she gets terrified. Husband goes, okay, how could I engage that target? What kind of weapon would I choose when I go to my arsenal? Well, I definitely want some kick to that, So, and your players are the same way, right? Your players, some of your players are going to look at that monster and be like, okay, so if I get my Axe of Aladdin, which does +4 fire damage. Okay, because it's some sort of ice creature, so I think the fire damage would be. You're gonna have the people who are, and they're the other ones that are like, oh my God, it's 100 feet tall, it's an ogre, or I think 100 feet tall would be more of a giant. But here's my thing to all storytellers, my cautionary, or no, my offering. Okay. You are not going to hit the bullseye with every player every freaking time. So when it does not work, do not get frustrated. Do not get sad. Do not get down on yourself. because before we even go into how to implement this or techniques and tips that I do, I don't hit the target with my players every time. Sometimes I want a scene to be very scary. I want a scene to be very sad. And depending on my player's mood at that time, depending on, the week my player had, sometimes I don't hit the target, and because it is such a complicated thing, it's really the highest point that we're almost hitting here. It's you writing very skilled stories that elicit emotional response to scenes. You can't get down on yourself when you don't hit that target. This is icing, the tippity top icing on the cake. It's making those little icing roses, and if you fuck up an icing rose and it's still a pretty damn good cake, like, if your people are still sitting around going like, this cake is freaking delicious, and they don't appreciate the rose, that's okay. That's okay. Don't get down on yourself, and don't get down on them. They can't help themselves if they're not scared. They can't help themselves if they never really connected with that NPC that you had dragged off into the night, and they don't feel sad for them. That's unfortunately, it's not on them. You can't look at somebody and be like, be sad, damn it. You know what I mean? It's hard for people, as human beings, we tend to feign it with people, when they're like, this is horrible. But, like when a coworker tells you, like, my mother passed away, you're like, oh my God, I'm so sorry. Like, you're offering sympathy. You're offering sympathy, but you're, almost acting like you're a little sad, but like, I don't know your grandmother. I'm
sure it's very, very sad for you. You're right. It's terrible for you to say.
It is. It's horrible, but it's the God's honest truth. Yes. But it is a courtesy. It is a beautiful thing that we've literally built into our social system, where we say, if someone is experiencing something sad, empathize, sympathize, and even imitate an emotional response, because we are trying to bring them comfort. We're trying to show them that they have someone to go to. It's a terrible thing to say, but it's actually a beautiful thing to say, because if we didn't have that social situation, we'd be like, oh, well, that fucking sucks.
Yeah.
Blows. She leave you any money? Like, shit like that. We would say that if we didn't have these beautiful, complex social systems. So, don't get down on yourself if this doesn't work the first time, the second time, the third time. If you have a player that it never freaking works on, you're not making that scene for that player. You're making the scene for the other three sitting at your table. That's who you're making.
That's a good point, is that you're not trying to necessarily hit everybody at your table. You are trying to.
You're going to try.
But you might not encompass everybody at the table. And that's okay, because, again, there are players out there who are just there. They're ready to throw the dice. They're ready to look at the game in just a totally tactical way. But if you ever do get them, pay very close attention to how you got them.
Yes. Take a note, a mental note, a physical note. What did I do to get them to that point? What was it? Was it a particular song that I played? Was it a la our music, our two music episodes? Was it a particular song that I played? Was it a characteristic in the NPC that, they were like, man, I love that NPC?
Is it something that they resonated to in the NPC? Is it something maybe that the other players at your table did? Okay. Can you get your other players to do that action again to force the hand of this player? There's, I would say that for the most part, you're going to probably try to elicit two emotions, okay, which are going to be fear and sadness.
Happiness too.
Happiness is much easier to elicit.
So easy. They beat the monster. Woo!
Yeah. It's one of the easiest emotions to elicit. The harder ones are fear and sadness. I would highly recommend to avoid eliciting anger and
that was
frustration.
Going to be my next point. I mean, do not aim for that one if you're like, my goal is to get them super frustrated. If you are literally creating a scene where that is your ultimate goal, they're not getting frustrated with your monster. They're getting frustrated with you.
Yes, they are getting mad at you. This would be the equivalent of you playing a game of Monopoly with them, and every time they pass go, you stole all their money. Okay, and eventually
Pass go, pay me $200.
and then eventually they flip the board and go, "This is bullshit."
Fuck this game. You know, and eventually they're going to do the same thing with your role playing table. And I mean, like, you might have had some really beautiful miniatures painted. I don't know. There they go flying.
I mean, it is natural for players to get frustrated within the game itself.
It is.
Okay, so you do not need to assist in doing that. Okay, your goal is to try to keep them, if they do get frustrated, to bring them down on the frustration train, because they're never going to cue into your other emotions.
Yeah.
Okay. Frustration is literally directed at you. You are sitting there and they're going, "You son of a bitch."
They're getting pissed at you. I mean, doesn't mean that you can't create something challenging, but at the same time, the objective should not be frustrating. It should be challenging. They should sit. Do your players like that? You know, do they sit around going, "Yeah, challenge, a good challenge"? You know, they don't, trust me, they're not sitting around going, "You know what I want to do on my Saturday night? Be frustrated."
No, they are there to enjoy
off.
the game. Okay? You don't watch a movie to get frustrated. Okay? You don't do very many things in life to get frustrated.
I almost had a comment there, but okay. I'm not going to say that. All right. It's just not going to happen. So, forgive me. All right, moving on. Jared. Whew. Focus. How do I elicit emotion in my players? So, one, I make sure that, let's focus on, you know, because we had a whole episode on fear.
Let's focus on the types of, so like I said, fear, sadness, happiness is the easy one. You might be wanting to elicit an emotion of tension or suspense.
So tension is great. I mean,
that isn't frustration. That is like a sense of feeling rushed.
Honestly, tension's very. You know, I found tense music that's very easy to incorporate. Here's my thing with tension. One of the two things that I do. One, I enforce dice rolls. You know, we had a whole episode on just say yes. This is the time that I'd be like, roll. Because again, it's constantly your players are worried about that failure, right? They're worried about, you know, rolling the one, getting a botch, you know, whatever failure that you have. So it's constant. I make it very quick. Two, a counter or a timer. I'm placing some sort of time limit on them. You know, the thing is there's the joy of success. You know, for example, if they are racing to a location, right, to save the princess because they are going to kill the princess in some sort of dark ritual, okay? Whether or not they are running or taking horseback or whatever, you know, you're not going to sit there and you're not going to tell them, well, they're going to kill the princess in 20 rolls. That's not how you implement that timer. Every roll encompasses, you know, X amount of feet or X amount of yards. Okay.
And your timer doesn't need to be, you know, they're gonna execute the princess once the sun sets. Okay.
Right.
And so they can see the sun dipping behind the corners, and it's just you can do so much to make them feel like our time's right. I gotta roll good. I have to roll.
I have to roll well. And so when they accumulate the necessary amount of successes, they roll the castle. But they know what I like to do is I add a time to it. It's been 5 minutes. It's been 10 minutes. It's been 15 minutes. You know, we got the call at 11:30. They're gonna kill her at midnight. It's been 15 minutes. Oh my god. So unless the objective is, so remember, every scene has an objective. Unless the objective is that, or you're prepared for the one of two outcomes. Like their roles are going to matter here. If they roll poorly, the princess is going to get executed, and I have a planned outcome for that. If they roll well, they get there before the princess is executed, and the fight can commence. I have a plan for that. So those are kind of your tension is that these roles matter, and they have to matter. If you are always going to let them princess lives, there's no tension to that role. And if your players know no matter what the princess is going to live, not great.
This also works even better had they developed a good relationship with the
and
princess.
that's the key to both tension and sadness.
To eliciting any emotion in games
has to matter.
I mean, go back to our improving your NPCs conversation. The goal is, again, your players are the spotlight. Your players are the center of your story. Everything revolves around them. But you can give the players NPCs that
they actually give a damn about.
And you need to filter those NPCs into their life, into the game, to make them go, we like shopkeeper A. We like this. And your goal is to just, it's almost like a shotgun. You're just going to throw a bunch of NPCs at them throughout the time and see which ones stick. Okay? And the ones that do stick, those are the ones that you put on the chopping block.
Yeah, exactly. You aim for those ones that the players actually know their names. You know, if the players don't know their freaking names, that's not your target. Your target is the named NPCs that are like, we go to Larry's shop. Ah, we know Larry. Love Larry. We always visit Helga's bar. Right?
Love Helga. Helga's our favorite.
She's our favorite. And then Helga has been kidnapped by a rove of bandits. God damn it, Helga. We always told you to keep the axe behind the bar.
Yeah. You come into Helga's bar. Helga's bar is torn apart. And you find out that some of her patrons or some debt collectors came for Helga.
Okay. Debt collectors. I like that. It's good.
Local mafia. Something like that.
No, debt collectors is a fantastic. Yeah. People needed money back then. There were money lenders.
Or, like I said, there was some sort of organized crime, too. Somebody trying to extort Helga. Something ensued. Great scene. What happened here? Why did we run
investigations, clues, and then bam, we're off to save Helga.
And then you go, oh my God, it was the Barron brothers. Okay,
the Barron brothers.
Yes.
Okay, I like it.
It was the Barron brothers, and you go.
Is that their last name or their title? Are they Barons?
It's the Barron brothers, Jared.
So it's their last name.
Yeah.
Okay.
And you go. Oh my God, they run the local syndicate. They collect debts around the town. You can see you find the notes stapled up there or something. You can see the debts that she's run down. She's been trying to pay him back.
This is a really cool NPC you're developing right now.
Yeah.
I like the syndicate. Damn syndicate.
But you know where they are, and they've got, you see the time limit on it, the day, that the debts are due. On that note.
Oh my God, that's tomorrow.
It's already it's 11:50.
And exactly, it's that's how you create tension, and it also creates something for a villain. When villains, it depends on what you're really going for with your villain, but for a villain to really be villainous, right? They need to have, at some point, pissed off the players, done something to offend them, right? Whether or not that is started off with kidnapping Helga, or because your villain that's like, I kidnapped the princess and the king wants me to king wants the group to go and get his daughter back. Honestly, I have nothing morally against this. Well, morally, yes, but I have nothing personal against this villain. I don't. If the princess dies before I get to the villain, all right, I didn't get all the coin, but I still got some coin. He really hasn't personally affronted the characters. He hasn't really done anything, and that's key to a villain and eliciting emotion with a villain, is they have to have literally done something to the players. Whether or not it's an evil king who threw them in prison, had them beat for a couple of days or whatever. And I never do it in backstory. It's always got to be in character. Because if you tell me, it's what Aaron and I always say. Don't tell me, show me. You know what I mean? Like, if you're going to
show me how the villain affects me in the game.
Right. You know, so that's how you elicit that natural hatred.
That's what you're going for. It's the one emotion that we said don't elicit the emotion. Which
frustration.
Frustration. You want to elicit anger towards the NPC, okay? Because you want the players to... So again, with Helga and the Baron brothers, okay, the players rush off to go save Helga. They know where the Baron brothers are. They know the hideout. They know it's the local syndicate in town, okay? They rush off to go save Helga. Do they make it in time? That's what Jared is saying with your horseback ride to the syndicate, or your foot race to the syndicate. Do they make it in time? They don't make it in time. You find Helga.
Oh, I would have killed Helga hours before. Sorry.
You might do this two ways. Okay, you might want the players to have the opportunity to save Helga. Okay, if you want the players to have a win, happiness, the players save Helga, but the players still hate the Baron brothers. If you want
the anger meter goes up a little bit.
If you want the players to lock, stock, ready to roll, let's go get the Baron brothers after this. They make their way there in the middle of the street, in the town square on their way there. Helga is strewn up and hung and beaten and dead. And there's a note on there like, never forget the Baron brothers. Like,
there you go. Now your anger meter's really going up because he took something from us, something important to us. And that is why, and this is such a thin line.
It's something that your players found important. It's not something that you gave them that you noted was important. It's not the key to the castle, okay, or the key to the crypt, okay? It is the player, it is the NPC that they formed a bond with, and that you've nurtured that bond. You've made them really care about that NPC.
Yeah, you've worked on that.
You've made the emotion and the connection to the NPC, and the Baron brothers took them from.
And it's important to nurture. Now this is a sly trick, okay? Sly trick, difficult to pull off, so advanced. Your player that really, every combat, he's like, okay, I need my +5 fire axe, yada, yada. When I say look for something that players find important, that might be also the gear they are actually fucking carrying. For example, if they are like, my fucking +5 fire axe, every fucking time they walk in, my +5 fire axe, yada, yada. If you take that from them, they are going to be through the roof.
Never forget the Baron brothers.
Never forget the Baron brothers. This is what we took for our debt. His +5 fire axe. You are threading the needle on this one because sometimes it has to be entirely legit. And here's my recommendation. Unlike an NPC where, you are going to kill them, because I will tell you this in my personal experience, over 20 plus years of playing and storytelling, I've had gear stolen from me, right? Gear that I freaking liked, right? I got mondo pissed when it got nabbed. One, you have to make sure when you nab something from a player that's important, you do it on the legit. You can't cheat that one. Because if you do it on the cheat, they feel cheated. That's step number 1 to mitigating the anger that is going to rise in your players. It will rise. 2, unlike Helga, where there is an outcome to the end, right? Helga might die. You can't, in my personal opinion, you can't take it forever from them. Because what they're going to do is they're going to get pissed at you. My +5 axe.
Why you said threading the needle.
Why I said threading the needle. So the trick is they can get it back, but make sure your villain gets away, okay? Because they will hate that villain to the end of days, all right? They will hate, and this is for that player that's just like, okay, I don't care about NPCs. I care about beating the shit out of stuff. You know, if they've got that fucking club that they always use and it's like a level 20 club, all right, take it for a little bit. Make sure it's obtainable back, because trust me, they will. I have seen a player get, just because, and they didn't even work for this particular sword. All right, this player got this sword through, essentially took it off the corpse of a bad guy, right? And then carried the sword for, I don't know, months, and just decimated with this sword. It was a very powerful sword, all right? The minute the storyteller stole it and broke it, it was like you literally took his character. I think he would have cared less had you taken his character sheet and ripped it in half. I think he would have cared less had you killed his character. But holy shit, when that storyteller, now mind you, that storyteller and that player are still friends right now, but like I thought they were going to come down to blows in a basement. Like, he was that pissed. I was like, this is uncomfortable. Like, I'm looking for exits. I'm not getting between those two. Nope. I mean, I was a big guy back then, but nope. Because just the rage. I tackled gang members for 8+ years, and I was like, nope, not gonna do it. So equipment, if they have that beloved axe, give it back to them, because trust me, you're gonna do nothing but have their hatred for you that they had this +5 axe, yada yada. And for some odd reason, I don't know why it is with equipment that people get so attached to like some stuff. But I do. It's the tool they use every day. It brings them their emotional kick.
Yes.
Their emotional kick is defeating the enemy with their axe of +5 fire axe. I took that away from you. You can no longer get that emotional kick, and they think they'll never get it back, okay? Trust me, sometimes players think that way. Nope, I'll never kill an enemy again. You took my +5 fire axe. Never gonna have it again. And like, I've seen people literally go on entire quests, all right, to rebuild said axe, even though it was like, dude, the fire enchantment is gone. No, we can get it back. We can get it back. Totally. Like, dude, I'm not making a subplot for your stupid fire axe. But they will push the issue. They will. I've seen it. I've even seen people get emotional over stupid stuff like particular guns. I have. I was like, what?
It's the stuff that you're carrying. It's the stuff that's on your character, and then it feels like the GM is. What it feels like it feels like a punishment.
It does.
Okay.
But it's not. It's part of my story. Make sure it has an objective.
Again, does it have an objective, or are you just taking away the +5 fire axe?
Are you? And that's my thing. If you're taking away the +5 fire axe, if your goal is like, okay, I have really overdone it with this fire axe, right? I gave it to him, yada, yada. Now I'm going to take it away. I will tell you, listeners, dear listeners, create a story of that. If make sure that you treat the death of that fire axe like the death of a goddamn character. I mean, and it might be for the first time that you see your character player who's like, okay, I have a defense of 11. Don't really care that this monster has the creepy walk to it, and we can't seem to kill it. Don't care. You might actually see them get emotional about this shit as long as you handle it properly. And if you're going to do it, if you're going to thread the goddamn needle, because I'm telling you, fair listeners, dear listeners, you are threading a needle on this one. Because I have seen it go bad. Treat the death of that axe like the funeral of the most beloved NPC in the game. Some of your players will look at it and be like, wow, that was overly emotional for an axe. Because, like me, I see it as a tool. It's my character that does the action. It's me, the player, that does the stuff. But, like, when people are really attached to shit like that, so gauge your how much is it really going to bring your game somewhere? Is it going to forward the story? Is it going to improve the play? Is it going to make your players happy? It's going to make one player very sad, but as long as you have a funeral for said axe, it might work. But it might elicit that emotion that you've been seeking with that player. I would recommend not doing it for just emotion's sake. Like, I really want to make this asshole cry. I really do. He never freaking is scared. He doesn't care about NPCs. He just rips shit off the bodies of the freaking dead with their eyes still. I've looked at him and been like, played the sad song and been like, the child's eyes are still open, staring at you in an accusatory manner.
Got any change on him?
You're like, yeah, got any change? Is that shirt?
We were at the March of Dimes taking the shirt.
Taking the shirt. I can probably sell that. That'll be +2 gold. I'm sure shirt's like copper, but it'll be +5 copper. Bloodstains will bring down the price halfway. If you've got that player, and I'm telling you, don't do it just to be like, I want to make this fucker cry just once. Even if you have that burning desire in you, don't do it. Do not freaking do it. It has to be for a legitimate freaking purpose. Like, oh shit, that axe is brutalizing all my monsters. It's completely outbalanced my team, right? Because nobody can do this kind of attack, and he's killing every freaking monster. And now my players are always like, well, damn Jake has killed every monster in the dungeon again. We didn't even get to pull out our bow. Fun times, Jared. Fun times. So yeah. Well, back to emotion.
Again, there's so many good ways that you could do it. Back to the Baron Brothers example. If you leave Helga strewn out on the street, we hate the Baron Brothers because they did this to Helga. Okay, a better way to do it is to have them go fight the Baron Brothers. We're going to go get Helga back. Okay, they go into the syndicate. They have a brouhaha. You have a whole fight planned out for this, but Helga still dies. Yeah. Okay, at the end of it, Helga still dies. They catch her at her dying breath.
And this is going to be my next tool. Make sure that you've already planned out your music, okay, and you've pre-planned the scene. You've already written out the narrative. You know what's going to happen. Helga's dying. Period. What are Helga's last words? Does she touches someone's cheek? Because here's the other thing. What I want you to do is when you're planning emotional scenes, right? Play your music. This is my recommendation. This is what I do. I play my music. I type it out, right? I type that bitch out to the last freaking thing, right? And I start thinking of all the senses. And what it will do when you are creating an emotional scene is you should feel, if you're not feeling vulnerable by your own emotional scene, it's not emotional enough. It's not there. Because if you aren't feeling the little pull, if you're not feeling, I literally judge how emotional a scene is by how awkward I feel telling that scene. Literally, this is my gauge. I'm taking you behind the curtain. If I feel freaking awkward, because, like, I'll admit it, I'm a guy, I like meat, I like guns, Brr. In an emotional scene, I feel very vulnerable. Telling my character that telling my players she looks into your eyes and graces your cheek very gently. I feel awkward and vulnerable. But when I feel awkward and vulnerable, I can tell you that those scenes have, if the emotion from what's going on is resonating in me and making me feel uncomfortable because I have to be a manly man, oh yeah, it's hitting my players because I got to be macho. But I'm going to be vulnerable, and I'm welcoming my players to become vulnerable with me. So, that's a good gauge. Like, if you're like, I am totally uncomfortable freaking doing this, start small. Trust me, your players, when was the last time someone dying grazed their cheek? It sounds weird, doesn't it? But that's what people who are dying do. They're in their last breaths. Make it freaking emotional. Go for it. Kick it. You know, not actually kick it, but you know what I mean? Like, hit that emotion into high gear. Let it encompass the room. Let it bring a thing of silence. Now, next, you are going to have a player, and this is, I totally forgot to do this warning at the beginning. You are going to have a player that after you're like, she gently touches your cheek. And with her last tear, she says, always stay together. And then her eyes close. One, don't say she's dead. I just thought of that. Don't say she's dead. Eyes closed. Your players aren't stupid. But here's my warning. Your players, after you say she closed the eyes and the music plays and you cue into your next music, which is still slow and somber, one of your players is going to be like, well, that sucked. I got to go fart. You are going to get through the roof pissed off. Through the roof pissed off. You are going to...
There's a better than 0% chance that you're going to have one person say something...
Stupid.
Stupid.
But there's a reason for this, and this comes from 8 years of working with very emotionally damaged individuals, okay? My kids were gang members for a reason, right? It was typically... I could tell you every kid that I worked with, 99% of them had some sort of trauma in their background. Nobody was like, no, there were a few kids that were like, I come from a very loving home and blah, 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 and I sell heroin because it's fun. We never really had that. Most of them, had single parent homes, multiple other siblings. The parent wasn't working or had a drug addiction themselves or a mental illness. And that's why they joined street gangs, because they had no control in their own life. So they need to control someone to tell them you are tough and you are in control. But the reason that your player is getting up and farting is what I want you to keep in the back of your mind. There's something called a nervous smile. Okay. And I learned this, reading into psychology of the kids that I worked with. And I've seen it a lot. People don't understand that when someone's yelling at somebody else and they start smiling. And I've seen these people, I saw it at work once. The person just kind of sat there and smiled. And I saw the manager at the time flip out. What are you smiling about? Blah, 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 blah. It's something called a nervous smile. It's an actual psychological reaction to stress. And it's just they smile when they get really nervous. And they're hoping in the back of their mind, what they're hoping is that the smile will de-escalate the situation. It's an embedded psychological practice in certain individuals. Not everyone has it. Not everyone has the nervous smile. I noticed it probably twice in 8 years of teaching. I had 2 kids that literally had a nervous smile. You'd be furious at them, right? Because they did something stupid in the school and they've been doing so great, and you're, why are you doing this? You're mad, and they're just sitting there smiling at you. And it's actually because they're nervous and they're uncomfortable. And once you figure that out, but what your players are also doing, the one who stands up, if it is atypical behavior for them, for example, and they stand up and like, well, I got to fart, and they're not doing it to destroy your scene, I want you to keep in the back of your mind that it might be a psychological reaction to the high emotion of the scene. They are trying to break the uncomfortableness. That's what they're literally trying to do. They are used to a state of normalcy at your table, okay? That's what they're used to. They're used to kill dragons, smile, laugh, yada, yada, sometimes get a little bit scared, right? But you are welcoming something different into the table that is so touching, emotionally different, that they're literally, it's uncomfortable for a moment, especially in the scene after. I found it most afterwards. Okay? So when they do that, try to keep this in the back of your mind that they are literally, you have brought such emotion to your table that literally your players are going into basic psychological techniques in order to break the emotion because it was so powerful.
A really good scene like this will generally result in stunned silence at the table.
It will. You're going to have a quiet.
And
be prepared for it. Thank you, Aaron.
yes, it'll generally result in stunned silence. The players will not know. I mean, I can speak from my own experience being a player when Jared has done something to this effect. I'll sit there in stunned silence, and I'll go, I don't know what to do next.
Exactly. It happens.
And what you would want your players to do is, so what you do is you let them sit there and breathe with it for a moment, and then you say, you kind of narrate, take control, autopilot a little bit.
Autopilot a little bit.
Autopilot until your players come back into this. Okay, you go get, you bring out Helga. You wrap her up. The streets are quiet. You kind of walk through the scene, get them to kind of re-engage with what's going on, bring them back to a place of sort of normalcy, and then the players will start to talk. The players will start to conversate. They'll be like, I can't believe Helga died. I can't believe
we're gonna fucking kill those.
The Baron brothers did this. Like, they weren't there. We have to find them. We have to get justice for Helga. Okay.
And boom, you have a story now that has such an emotional start. As long as you can keep, that level of engagement, all you have to do is maintain it. Now you've got the emotional kickstart. You got it.
You now have your players hooked on something for the purposes of, whether it be that your players are out for petty revenge, generally not the best storyline, or are your players saying, they have to pay for this.
Don't mock petty revenge. Petty revenge is the plot of a lot of movies.
Petty revenge is the plot of a lot of movies, but if you maybe have graduated your players from morally unscrupulous people to the heroes, maybe they're like, we have to bring them to justice, and they must pay for their crimes, meaning that they must be brought, and shackled and, meant to suffer for a long time.
Yep. And I mean, like, that's a lot to it. But I want to go back to your point with the bringing them back. So you've hit your emotional pitch, and I've failed to do this sometimes, and I've seen it, and I thank you for bringing it back up. You do have that stunned silence. So be prepared for that stunned silence. Create your after moment. Remember when you're creating that after scene, just like Aaron said, go into your narration mode and slowly move down the emotional curve. Maybe your music changes to something not so sad, right? Still a little adagio, right? But not as like the crying of a Russian violin, all right? Russian violins, if it's good, it makes you cry. Makes the soul cry, a good Russian violin. It does.
And again, this is we're specifically
motherfucker. Shasta fucking Kovich.
We're specifically talking about sadness here in this moment, but this works for any emotion. This works for fear too. Fear, I mean, if you think about it, and I know we're running a little bit longer than we usually do, but fear is the same thing. You can scare players into situations that you never expected to be able to kind of scare them into. It could be the absence of stuff within a dungeon that elicits the fear. Mm-hmm. That everywhere you go in here, it's that kind of stunned silence. It could be the fear of not knowing what has happened to Helga. You get there and Helga is gone. It's just a blood stain there. Did they kill her? Did they take a finger? Okay.
There's going to be a noticeable amount of blood for that. Took a finger. Well, actually, fingers bleed a lot. There's a lot of stuff there.
What has happened to her at that point? Or you get there and the entire syndicate is dead and Helga is dead.
I wish to subscribe more to your story, Aaron.
Okay.
I have to admit, like, I'm kind of like, who just fucking killed the syndicate?
And you're like, what's going on? It works better if you start working your way into the syndicate and then you find the room and now you're deep in the hideout of the syndicate and now you find this room of all these dead people and you're like,
holy shit.
Oh my God, we're deep inside the syndicate. Where's the assassin?
And just like Aaron said, you've brought them to the emotional pitch of fear. Now bring them back. Because if you just leave it
generally
there,
with fear, your players will be able to get out of it.
yes,
Your players will be able to feel the fear and eventually get out of it. And fear only lasts for so long. It's a tension sort of moment where don't present something. Jared always brought this up. Don't present something scary in front of your players and expect your players to go diving in and be like, "This is so scary." Okay.
Oh my God, yes.
Okay. What needs to happen is your players go in and
trap them in the black forest.
Trap them in the fear. Okay, get them to go into the syndicate. Maybe they shank the guard at the front of the syndicate. They do it quietly. They're like, we're gonna go in and find Helga. Okay, we're keep this quiet, keep this low. We're in the entire syndicate. We can't fight everybody. Okay, they shank the front guard. Ha ha! We're so great. We got this. We're gonna get Helga. Helga, we're coming for you. And then they come and they dig deep into this. But as they go through each room, there's nobody there. Nobody there. Nobody there. Nobody
See,
there.
curiosity, you're drawing them in. You're drawing them in.
And then they work their way deeper into this. And then finally, you get to the end of it where you hear a scream. It's got to be Helga. We're running down the tension. Okay, speed. Boom, 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 boom. You go into the room and why are there 10 dead syndicate members and a Helga run through?
Cue scary music.
Cue scary music. Okay?
Cue narration.
Do you know how deep they've run into the hideout? Okay?
Yeah.
The torches go out that moment.
Ugh.
Okay? Boom. Now you're in a dark hideout that you've never been in.
So I'm not sure if I brought this up in the fear episode or the horror episode. Dark is scary. Okay? I'm telling you, I did bring this up. There is a primordial fear in man because there was a time that man did not have fire. We instinctively fear the dark because we don't know what's eating you. Yeah, it's terrifying. Go into a pitch black room. It's deal. It's an instinctual thing, and it takes a lot of mental training to break that.
And now there's some crazy assassin who was able to kill the entire syndicate, or maybe some crazy monster that was able to kill the entire syndicate that can extinguish all the torches immediately. Okay? And you're stuck in the middle of it.
There you go. Now welcome to my dungeon.
Welcome to my dungeon. And then you want to really take it one step further? Change the layout of the map. Okay?
Oh, yeah.
Okay, you have now taken your players to 10 levels deep of Inception fuckery, okay, that is now scaring the shit out of them. They don't know where they are. They don't know what they're fighting. All they know is it was able to destroy the syndicate.
Quietly.
Dude,
you're a dick. I can't wait to play this game.
But yeah, so that's a way to do fear. I wanted to bring it back up here at the end of this.
So that's all I've got. I'm leaving it there, and I hope you're writing. Can't wait to be scared out of my shit. I'm terrified just thinking about that. I open up the door and the map's fucking changed and Aaron's fucking shit. Oh, God damn it. Ugh. All right.
Okay. But anyways, we hope you enjoyed the episode. Let us know, have you had success eliciting fear or other emotions in your game? What has been your experience doing it? Have you had troubles doing it? See if this works for you. Try to sprinkle it into your games. You can contact us at levelupyourgamingpodcast@gmail.com or facebook.com/levelupyourgaming. You can comment on the episode. You can also send us questions about other episodes or other things that you'd like us to muse on as well. We're also on YouTube. That usually comes out a couple days after the podcast releases, which is Wednesdays. So
smash that like button. Smash it.
Excellent. And, share with a friend, review, subscribe if you're not already subscribed, and we hope you continue to listen. So that's going to wrap us up for this week. For Jared, I'm Aaron. Have a great week, everyone.
Have a great week, everybody.